Welcome to the Macdownunder podcast for all Australian Apple computer enthusiasts and collectors.
Welcome to episode 51 of the Macdownunder podcast. I'm Justin and thanks for joining me for today's episode. Now things got a little bit busy last week and so I'm sorry I didn't manage to record an episode. But today's episode is going to be about all the news that's been going on in Macdownunderland or the Orchard, depending which way you think about the name. So we'll also cover collecting news, coming events and some for sale items. Now before we go too much further, the big news to wait for is about the Macdownunder website, so stay tuned for that. So what's going on? Well, first up, I went down to the Mac Museum last weekend and again it was brilliant as usual. Great to catch up with old friends, lots of new faces coming through the door as well. Great to see that the membership scheme's going so well and all of Matt's products. So he's got the display, but as you probably know, he's also selling some reconditioned Macs that he's been working on. He's got his capacitor kits. I must get hold of some of those as soon as I start repairing things. And now he's selling his version of the Blue SCSI as a fundraiser for the museum. And they're a fantastic price. I'll talk more about that in the events section. But I said to Matt when I walked in the door, I've got to get one. They're such a bargain. And so I managed to get hold of one. Thank you so much to Matthew for helping me with that, and highly recommend the Blue SCSI. I've got the external edition, which is exactly what I wanted, so I can plug it into all of my Macs as I go through testing them all. So fantastic little product. Some small wins in the last couple of weeks. Now some of it's a bit contemporary, so bear with me. But my HomePod first generation, I had one in one of our stays where we stay, and I had it as a stereo pair for the TV, and it sounded fantastic, except the right speaker, this one, failed. And it failed with a power failure, and all the literature would suggest it's a replacement diode in the very base of the machine. And if you've looked at the teardowns, they're a bit scary for someone that hasn't been doing Mac repairs for a while. There's lots of glued things you've got to unglue, multiple layers, and you had to dig down deep to get to the diode. So I just chickened out and bought another second-hand one, in fact from one of the diode repair people locally here in Victoria. But that second one, the second-hand one that I got, it worked well for a while, but it got the dreaded flashing volume up-down signs. I don't know if you've seen that, but they just flash at you. And it tells you that there's a firmware problem. Well, I jumped into action. I went online and I found the notes for how to reset that. And so there's a 3D printable and the wiring configuration for how you repair or re-flash the firmware on your HomePod. You do have to unglue something, but it's just the one thing. Anyway, I did that and it worked fine. And I had to do it a few times. So clearly something wasn't quite right. And just recently, I got the firmware reflash came up and said that there was a problem with the NAND memory chip. And again, if you go online, that's pretty common. They need reballing. It's a compact chip with multiple connectors on the bottom, well and truly out of my scope. So I bit the bullet, got out the hairdryer and followed the instructions, pulled the logic board out of my old HomePod, which only had the power board failure, but the logic board should have been all right, and implanted it in the newer machine that had the logic board failure. And lo and behold, it came to life, still running HomePod OS 17.4, I might point out. So had to do an upgrade straight away so that it fitted in with the rest of the home, but it's working a treat. And this one here is the dead one I put back together. I haven't bothered reconnecting all the cables inside because it's got a dead power supply and a dead logic board. It isn't going to work without quite a bit of repair. But you never know, I might find a spare logic board somewhere and I'll get around to replacing that diode if that's the case. So that's my first little bit of trivia for the time. Oh yeah, so lots of hairdryer action and T6 torque screws. So make sure you have a read of the instructions before you start to make sure you've got all the bits and pieces you need. Fortunately, I did find a T6 Torx screwdriver head in one of my multi-tools, so that worked out well. All right. Now, my iPhone, I'm actually using it to record this episode. Some of you all know I've recently finished up work after 30 years, and part of the end process was I managed to purchase my phone back, and I managed to transition the phone number I was using for work to keep privately, which is fantastic, and thank you so much to my previous employer to facilitate all of that. And so I got the phone, really quite a good deal, but it is well used. It's only got 80% of battery capacity left. So, it's on its last legs anyway. Anyway, they did everything they could do to decommission it off the network. And if you've been watching YouTubes, you'll know that new Mac products, once they're enrolled in a corporate arrangement, they can be made dead when they fall off the back of the network, and there's and Apple still believe that they've got some digital rights management going on. So the company tried everything. The IT people, thank you so much, you know who you are, trying to fix it for me, turning things on and off and on and off and resetting and whatever. Nothing seemed to work, and it appears what happened on my case, and I found online a few people, is that the certificate for the company profile had expired, and so Apple wouldn't verify it at all, and that was part of the problem. So I did a factory reset on the phone, pretty modern stuff. It's not exactly retro tech. It's an iPhone, 11, 12, I think. So not new. Anyway, I did a factory reset. That got rid of all the digital rights management and the corporate management just as it should, and it didn't come back, which shows that the company did actually take it off the network. But as soon as I restored off my backup, all the profile and certificates came back. So that was my challenge. And again, the IT support people did everything they could, but pretty much they were out of options. So I tried, I think around 6 applications that claim that they can remove company profiles from your iPhone. Well, I had to sign up to a few, had to pay subscriptions to a few just to find out they didn't work. I eventually found one that did work, and it was brilliant. And that involved basically looking at the backup, finding the certificates for the profiles and deleting them, creating a new backup with those parts deleted, and then restoring the phone. And it worked. So I can change the name of my iPhone after, well, not 30 years, but probably 10 years. I can now connect to the home VPN because that was disabled as well. I can share reminders with people because pretty much every version of internet sharing was turned off in the company profile. So I can do all of those things, but that took an awful lot of work, and that's part of the reason why last week I just ran out of time to do an episode. But I did learn a few things along the way. So I did apply to get refunds from those applications that failed to deliver. And what I've learned is keep all your records. Emails from their support team saying what to do, what not to do, list everything that you've done step by step somewhere in a log. If the application keeps logs, get a copy of those logs, don't delete it, get the copies of those logs, keep everything because they will keep coming back asking for more and more and more. Then they'll offer you probably, they did to me, a half a refund because, oh, you used the application. And I said, well, I used it and it didn't work. And so I quoted Australian consumer law and I got a full refund. So just stand your ground, make sure you've got all the information if an application doesn't work, particularly after you've tried all of their support tips and contacting their IT support line as well, which I did. Anyway, my phone's working, I'm really happy. My Mac Mini, so everything that I do, this show, all of my daily email, all of my hobby stuff is on my M1 Mac Mini. And because I've got some applications for some other hobbies I've got there, I'm not convinced that they'll run under Tahoe. So I keep it pretty old and stable. But what I found out is that it was running Monterey, and Monterey is no longer supported by Apple. So I needed to upgrade to Sonoma so that I could ensure I got security updates. So I thought, well, it's been a while, it's time to do that. I'll just deal with the fallout if anything breaks. It worked. However, I needed something like 50 gigabytes of spare space to make it work. So what did that mean? It meant I had to offload stuff. So I emptied my trash, I moved as many things as I possibly could to external hard drives, and still not enough. So it ended up being the iPhone backups that I'd been making were a significant size. So I moved those across to an external drive, did the upgrade, and then moved them back into position. So I'm now almost up to date. I'm in supported territory for my Mac Mini. All right, next up, the Lisa One. Well, my Lisas in general, but the Lisa One. So I've bitten the bullet because I've not got around to repairing things, and the Lisa was going to be the last thing that I'm going to repair. So I've bitten the bullet and I've asked for help to get the power supplies checked to make sure they're not going to explode and give off that wonderful smoke first time I turn them on. And while that's happening, I was very fortunate that a friend of mine and the show and the Mac Museum, Danny, loaned me one of his known good power supplies. Now, it was actually part of the Mac Museum exhibition, so thanks to Matt for letting me borrow it as well for a short time. And lets me start out doing some simple testing while I wait for my power supplies to go through their paces. Now, as you can see, I've started on it. It's here, it's out. And it hasn't been started for at least 15 years, probably 20 years and longer. And I've got a few issues straight off. So the power supply is in there, it's working. But what I found is that it wouldn't actually get progressed to the self-check. And again, getting some sage advice from a key friend, thank you. I started pulling cards out, I started pulling devices out, and it turned out one of the Twiggy drives must be shorting. So when I disconnected the Twiggies, everything came to life. It went through the self-test. It failed the disk I/O because there was no disk connected. And in fact, even when I plugged back in the top Twiggy, it still went through. I'll put a screenshot up to show you how good the screen is. It's so bright and clear after so many years. I guess it hasn't done much. And so part one, going well. The hardware's working, and I should be able to get a boot. Now, I've got lots of profile hard drives for it. However, they all need work as well. I'm told there's 5 capacitors in every profile power supply. So I've got a lot of capacitors to replace or at least remove. And again, it's another part that is just going to cause a failure. So I have purchased some of the ESP profiles from Alex the Cat 123 online. They were an early product. In fact, you had a Arduino profile before that. So anyway, I've got an ESP profile or two, and some of you will know that will work as an external hard drive, but in contemporary hardware, so much more reliable than the poor old profiles themselves. But the next trick is to get the operating system onto the ESP profile. And some of you will know that something special about the Lisa, we'll talk about a Lisa in a future episode, but the Office applications are hard-coded to the serial number contained inside the video ROM chip of these things. So what I've been doing is looking at the Lisa EM emulator, and I've had to download and compile it. It's a fantastic application, and I know thanks to Ray, who's now Valet, and gone from us, which is a shame, but fantastic work he's done, and the Lisa List people have taken up the mantle and continued on. The catch was there's no binaries for either of the M1 Macs that I've got. So I had to compile my own, which is fine, except I hadn't done this particular compile before. I did find a fantastic quick tutorial on how to do it. Worked a treat on Tahoe. Didn't work on Sonoma. Not sure about that, but I'll put a link in the description if you want to follow that little cheat sheet. It worked really well for me. Anyway, so I got the Lisa emulator up and running, and I even got a profile image loaded and running the Lisa operating system. What I'm yet to do is to install the 7.7 into it. Now, the really nice thing about Lisa AM is that you can put the serial number of your Lisa into the emulator. So when you load software onto it, it loads and serializes as if it's your Lisa. That's brilliant. which means when I get that image out of the emulator, I can put it in my ESP profile, and this computer should be able to boot straight into Lisa operating system version 1 and version 1 of the 7.7 operating system. So stay tuned for a future episode on all of that. Really looking forward to it. So I am working through the leases. So between the blue SCSI that I've got from the Mac Museum, the ESP profile that I've got from AlexCat123, all I need is a floppy EMU and I'll be able to boot just about everything in my collection. That'll be fantastic. Can't wait to get there with some good reliability. All right, next up, some recent purchases. So as I've been doing the various episodes on storage and keyboards and mice and trackpads and more recently network things, as I've identified things that I'm missing, I've had a bit of a look at, and if I can get them within my budget, then I've been buying them. And I've talked about a few of these as I've gone through last year, not so many from this year. So here's some things that I want to talk about. There are photos on the website. I'll talk about the website in a minute. So here are some of the things that I've managed to get hold of. So first up, the original Apple NuBus card for Ethernet. So this is the one with AUI and the BNC connector. This was featured in the Ethernetwork episode, but started manufacture in 1987. This one's actually from 1989, but it's the same form factor and the same tooling. So for me, that's close enough as having a Series 1 Ethernet card for the NuBus slots in the original Mac 2. So there's the first thing I managed to get, and that one came from the US. Next up, this pretty rare beast. There were two versions of these, but this is the Apple version of the Token Talk. So this one's for Token Ring, the IBM network system. Check out one of the earlier episodes on networking. I'll put the link in the description. But this is a Token Talk card. The IBM component circuit here, which was in the version 2 of this card. And as you can see, it's got the 9-pin connector for Token Ring. Again, it's a NuBus card for the original Mac 2. Really keen, really happy to get hold of that one. And again, that one came from the US as well. All right, some smaller bits and pieces. So I didn't have a COM slot 1 card. Strangely enough, I've got lots of COM slot 1 machines, but none of them came with a network card, or at least not an Apple network card. So I got an Apple network card from a COM slot 1 machine. This is the one with the twisted pair 10BASE-T connector. This one did come from Japan. Now, interestingly now, because it's in an open circuit board, my Japanese supplier wouldn't ship it internationally because it's an exposed board, and apparently there's some mention in their customs laws now that you can't ship open circuits. So this one ended up coming across via a second carrier. So I had to get it from the company I purchased it from to a second shipper agent that I use to get it here in Australia. I noticed what a few people do is they wrap it in aluminium foil. I had an earlier card like that, and it came across without any trouble. So what else did I get? So Airport Extreme. Now, I know a lot of people say, yes, they're just a whole lot of white boxes, but I was missing one of the 4. So A1301, and I managed to find this one in box and complete, cheap, well and truly under my $100 limit, well and truly, less than half of that, just locally in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So I had to get that, particularly when it was in box, and thank you to Philip. He's selling a few other things too that he's got there, some MacBook Pros and iMac 27-inch. So good to get that one, and that's now completed the Airport Extreme range for my collection. I do have a few more network cards on their way from the USA, just to fill out that part of the website. And The big one, you can see it here on the desk, is this Power Mac. Now, this is a Power Mac 4400. In Australia, it got marketed as the Power Mac 7220. When I found one of these cheap and the shipping wasn't too bad, I've got this one across from Japan. It's in fantastic condition. And again, it was well and truly under my $100 limit. Even with the exchange and everything else going on. So Power Mac 4400 only released in the rest of the world, but not released here in Australia. So that's a great addition to the collection. So I guess the big news for today and concerning all of this is the Macdownunder website. Now, if you've looked at my website recently, you'll notice not much has changed since December. And that's because in December, I found out that our website had outgrown its hosting service, or at least on the free plan. And given there's no income stream from this, I needed to use the free plan. So it's taken 9 months to, it was fairly quick to find another hosting site with potentially unlimited storage, but it's taken 9 months to rebuild the website to make it look somewhat similar to the old one. Convert everything across from one system to another. But the good thing is I'm now using a standard platform that I can migrate pretty much anywhere I want to go in the future. Makes it a lot easier to back up. And the other good news is, at least for me, is that I'm using gallery databases as well, which means if I've got a blurb about a series of photos, I can just insert the code instantly in other places. So for example, I might want to have the Ethernet card under network things, but I might want to have it under new bus things, and I might want to have it under the Mac 2 as one of the cards that came with it. And I just have that one piece of code with the photos and the description, and I can put it in each of those pages. So a huge advance for me who likes to do those sorts of things. But not only that, I've added the more photos. The photos I wanted to add and couldn't back in December, and since I've now added as well. So there's more photos around storage devices, networking devices, the Apple IIs, 2Cs, 2Es, 2GSs and 3s, all the photos that I've used pretty much through the podcast, I've put on the museum's website as well. So I'll put a link up on the screen here, a QR code if you want to go and visit it, and I'll put a link down in the description. Now it is a redirect now to the new provider, so use the macdownunder.ddns.net address and it will go wherever the website moves to in the future. So have a look at the website, lots of new content. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Wow, so that's just my news. So what's news with you? Have you fixed something or have you found something interesting recently? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So on to other recent news. And in the Lisa group on Facebook, user Tim has announced work he and others have been collaborating on, the Lisa X modem utility. This looks fantastic. Again, fits in nicely with my desire to get the Lisas up and running. So this allows you to use a serial cable to download software and files from your contemporary Mac or other computer to your Lisa over serial, just like ADD Pro for the Apple II. So this looks fantastic. Link in the description. Sticking with the Lisa, and it was a bit of a reminder with Tim's post that Alex, the Cat123, I've spoken about him already today. The ESP profile is his creation amongst a whole range of other things. Well, he's actually made Minesweeper for the Lisa. Probably the first game that I'm aware of to ever work on the Lisa, because it didn't come with any games. It was an office computer. Anyway, link in the description if you're a Lisa user or you want to use your Lisa emulator to run Minesweeper under the Lisa operating system. And on the Apple One group on Facebook, user Charles has put up a bit of a cryptic post and interesting photos about an Apple One replica in a contemporary case, but reflecting the sort of wooden cases of the 1970s, for $666.66. going to be available from the Computer History Museum in the US. Now that price, of course, is reflective of the price of the original Apple I back in 1976. Very intriguing. If I didn't already have a replica, I might be tempted. In fact, I still might be tempted. Coming events. Technology Markets held their last market on Sunday the 2nd of August. I've caught up with a few people that it went and they said it was fantastic with the retro display and comms gear as well. Lots of people there selling and showing and lots of people watching. Looks good. No new dates as yet, but link in the description to keep up to date. WasFest have their next Apple II gathering in Sydney on the 26th of September. Make sure that you reach out to the organisers to get details. Link in the description. The Mac Museum, as I mentioned, their last open day was last weekend and it was fantastic to get down there and catch up with everybody and see new faces coming through the door. Their next open day is Saturday the 12th of September from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at Somerville in Victoria. And I note that the new membership scheme's been released and going well. Check the website for details. And here you go. If you're a member, there's a special offer, as I mentioned earlier on, a blue SCSI board, not in a case, but the blue SCSI board itself, complete, for only $65. I reckon that's a bargain. So plan your next visit to the Mac Museum and think about getting a blue SCSI or a capacitor kit, or just buy a computer from Matt and help support the museum. Retro Gaming Bendigo have their next get-together on Saturday the 5th of September, 12 o'clock for a 12:30 start at the Huntley Memorial Hall near Bendigo in Victoria. Link in the description. And the Adelaide Retro Computing Group have their next meeting this Friday, the 14th of August, from 5:30 until 10:30 p.m. at the Unley Community Centre in South Australia. Now, if you've got a retro computing event, particularly one that involves Apple computers or things, please reach out, let me know. I'd be happy to list them here. So for this week's for sale, given I haven't got a particular theme, I didn't have a particular theme. I just had a look to see what interested me that was around. And first up, this took my fancy. It's the Apple Talk Personal Network Installation Guide. So this is the book. It looks pretty thick and beefy. 122 pages, in fact, from friend of the show, Danny, for currently around $35. I'm still having trouble with my eBay numbers, as you can see. Next up, what looks to be the complete Apple IIe Technical Reference Manual, 409 pages, also from Danny, for around $165. Now that might sound pricey, but this has got ROM listings, there's lots of information, so if you're into Apple IIes, this might be for you. Speaking of Apple IIes, there's an Apple IIe interface cards and a Duo disc. Untested and perhaps possibly a bit damaged, but currently on auction for $211.55. This is in New South Wales. Next up, you don't see these come up terribly often, and certainly not in Australia. This is a Lisa memory board. So this will be a 512K memory board. It's in the ACT for around $112. Next up, now I'm not entirely sure whether we've advertised this particular one before. However, there's a genuine Apple iSight camera. I love these cameras. With a Firewire cable, it's missing its stands, but nevertheless, for $35, it'd make a nice second if you need some spare parts. This one's from Queensland. And last up, I thought, what a bargain, and looks pretty interesting. This is a genuine 1980s Apple vintage mug, and you can see there the Apple name with the various Apple colours striped through it. This one is from South Australia for around $30. So that brings us to the end of episode 51 of this Macdownunder podcast. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you didn't mind going through a bit of a catch up on the happenings around the Macdownunder studio and the website and the collection. So what should we cover next week? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Now, don't forget to check out the new Macdownunder website, QR code on the screen right there and down in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss out on future episodes. And until I see you next time, take care. Thank you for joining the Macdownunder podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.